Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something that derails even the smartest companies, those hidden cultural clashes that can just tear a global team apart. We'll break down why it happens and, more importantly, how to fix it. You know, the dream for so many companies is pretty simple, right? It's to build one seamless, powerful global team. Just a single unit driving growth and innovation, no matter the border. But the reality? Well, it's often a minefield. We're talking friction, misunderstandings, and some really painful costs. The very cultural differences that should be a huge source of strength can become the root of failure. So why does this happen? Okay, let's dive right into this. To really get our heads around the problem, we're going to look at what happens when a global expansion hits an invisible but very, very solid wall. And look, this isn't some theoretical problem. We're going to follow a powerful, real-world story from Amalia Avramov's 30-year career leading global operations, and a moment that could have completely derailed a massive strategic investment. And that brings us to the core of the conflict. It all happened during a company's first big expansion into India, and it started with a simple but, well, a profoundly misleading word. On the surface, the scene was set perfectly. A new, strategically vital site was up and running. The teams were jumping into these complex projects, and the local manager, he seemed like the ideal partner. He was kind, always smiling, super cooperative, and in every single meeting, his answer was always a confident, yes, yes, we will do it. But then came the whiplash. Just hours after these really reassuring meetings, a flood of project escalations would come pouring in. Everything they thought was on track was, in fact, completely falling apart. And this wasn't just a one-time thing. It became this painful, confusing cycle of crisis. You can imagine for the leadership team, this experience became deeply personal. Amalia remembers feeling, I felt like I was hurt. Could it be he is lying to me? The trust was just shattered. And the first impulse was simple and direct. Get rid of the manager, find someone else. But was he really lying? And here is the breakthrough moment. The problem wasn't a dishonest manager at all. It was a fundamental clash between two different cultural operating systems. So in a direct truth culture, like the one in Israel, honesty is absolutely paramount. Saying a direct no is actually a sign of respect. But in a harmonious culture, like the one in India, the number one priority is preserving the relationship. Saying yes maintains that harmony, even if all the details still need to be worked out. So you see, it wasn't a lie. It was a completely different set of priorities. Realizing this was the huge turning point. They understood that just trying to force their own cultural norms was failing, big time. To move forward, they had to throw out the old playbook and build a totally new one, together. I mean, this famous quote perfectly captures their situation, doesn't it? They kept demanding these direct answers and just kept getting disastrous results. They realized they had to stop the insanity, take a step back, and create a whole new playbook for alignment. So what they did was develop this simple but really powerful four-step framework. The whole idea was to replace assumptions with explicit agreements. First, strategy, making sure everyone was actually aiming for the same goal. Then metrics, so the definition of success was crystal clear to everybody. From there, they aligned on values and behaviors, how they would actually act as one team. And finally, they committed to openly identifying and removing any barriers that got in their way. And they put this framework into action right away. For strategy, they co-created a vision that gave the local team a clear, secure future. For metrics, they agreed that for their shared goals, yes means yes, no more ambiguity. For values, they really talked about what one team meant in their day-to-day work. And when it came to barriers, everything from time zones to cultural misunderstandings was put on the table to be solved. And to really, truly bridge that cultural gap, they did something pretty remarkable. They created this immersive relocation program. Israelis went to India to experience that priority of harmony firsthand, and Indians went to Israel to understand the value of directness. I mean, this built a level of empathy that 1,000 video calls could never, ever achieve. So what was the result of all this work? Well, fast forward 20 years, that site, the one that was on the verge of collapse, is now a central, strategic, and just wildly successful part of the global company. This just shows you that investment in understanding, it wasn't some quick fix, it was a permanent solution. So what can we all learn from this incredible turnaround? Let's try and distill this whole story down into the key takeaways for any global leader out there. The first big lesson is this fascinating paradox. Real global strength doesn't come from tightening your grip. As Amalia found out, letting go of that local control is what actually allows you to achieve a much better, more effective kind of global alignment.
And the second point, which is just as vital, is that all the frameworks and strategies in the world, they're basically meaningless without one core element: respect. It's about genuinely seeing and understanding the other person's perspective. Because in the end, it always comes down to people connecting with people. So as you think about your own global ambitions, this is the question we want to leave you with. In your day-to-day actions, are you defaulting to control, just trying to make everyone conform to your way of doing things? Or are you actively building a foundation of respect from which true global success can actually grow?